Hi, my name is Bateman. Today we're going to learn about how to configure the malletSTATION EM Pro. Here we have a 2-octave EMC controller, which is expandable with up to 3 of our EMX single-octave expanders. And we have our new EMSC sound card, which is an internal sound engine that allows you to play up to 126 instruments without a computer. For you more advanced users, it is a full MIDI controller and router, allowing you to integrate into more complex studio setups. Let's start with the control surface, the buttons, the display, and the menu system. The control surface has up, down, left and right arrow buttons to allow you to navigate to different elements in the menu. There is a horizontal slider that you can use to adjust different parameters on the screen, and there's a select button to activate different elements that are highlighted. You can reset any parameter to its default setting by holding down the select button for 2 seconds. If at any time you get lost, you can always return to the home screen by pressing the home button. Each of the menus in the display has up to 4 tabs that are selectable with the 4 tab buttons below the display. Each tab can have multiple pages or layouts that can be navigated either by pressing the tab button repeatedly or using the up and down arrows. As you navigate a page, the active element will be highlighted with a blue outline. Press the select button to activate it. And remember, you can always get home by pressing the home button. Let's dive into the home screen. The home screen is where we can adjust the most common performance parameters. Let's start from the first page of the Preset tab. This is where you can select different sound card instruments. The first drop-down selects the instrument category, ranging from vibraphone, marimba, bells and chimes, and many more. The second drop-down selects instruments in that category. The sound card features 2 simultaneous instrument layers with 2 different instruments that can be played at the same time. When you select an instrument, you'll see the load progress displayed in either the upper left or the upper right, depending on which layer you're adjusting. To change the active layer, navigate to the Layer Selection button and press Select. You can also adjust the volume of the main left-right and headphone outputs, navigating to the different parameters and adjusting them with the horizontal slider. To make fine adjustments, use the left and right arrows. Press the Preset tab button to navigate to the second page. The second page displays information about the active preset. You can also adjust the octave with the up and down arrows, and you can send USB and MIDI program changes using the left-right arrows. Important settings like dampening, aftertouch, and gap caps are shown either highlighted or grayed out to quickly let you know if they've been enabled. You can get back to the first page by pressing the home button. The MIDI tab allows you to control parameters both for the sound card and for external MIDI devices. The first page contains sound card settings, including layer volume, reverb sends, and reverb size. The second page has 4 programmable sliders that can send MIDI messages to external devices. These settings can be configured in the Preset Edit menu. The Transpose tab allows you to adjust the octave transposition for all of the bars on your EM Pro. Use the octave setting to transpose the bars up to 3 octaves or down 3 octaves. Use the low note setting to adjust the root note of the lowest bar. This is F, E, D, and C. The low note setting changes the root note of the lowest bar of the instrument. Make sure to move your gap caps to match your keyboard layout. From the home screen, when you press the Config button, it takes you to the Global Configuration menu, which has 4 new tabs. The first page of the System tab has settings like activating Vegas mode, adjusting the screensaver, enabling the 5-pin DIN MIDI through, and configuring the home screen program change destinations. The second page has MIDI channel settings for both of the sound card layers, the external USB MIDI controller, and the MIDI channel to receive program changes to select different presets on the EMC controller. The third page allows you to select different MIDI destinations for a connected external USB MIDI controller. You can route those messages to computer over USB-C, 5-pin DIN MIDI, or one or both of the sound card layers. The fourth page lets you reset global settings, presets, perform a complete factory reset. You can also put the device into bootloader mode, allowing you to conduct a firmware update, and you can shut down the system, putting it into sleep mode. To wake the system from sleep, press the glowing home button. The fifth page will show you the status of the EMC controller and any connected expander. It will also, if necessary, allow you to perform an internal firmware update. The Controls tab allows you to adjust the brightness of the display, the brightness of the LEDs, as well as the on thresholds of the horizontal and vertical faders. The on threshold adjusts how much pressure is required to activate the fader. The About tab is a thank you from the team that designed the EM Pro. Pressing the Bars tab will actually take you to the Global Bar Configuration menu, which has two tabs. The first tab is the All Bars configuration. From here, you can select different sensitivity presets, or you can customize your own settings. From here, you can adjust the gain, on threshold, crosstalk rejection, and retrigger window for all of the bars. The second page has a sensitivity curve that adjusts the dynamic range of the instrument to match your playing style. There is a regular and an S curve for different dynamic effects. The third page allows you to start bar regulation or to clear out bar regulation and load the factory calibration defaults. There's a third option for debug messaging in case you ever need technical assistance. The Per Bar tab allows you to adjust the gain, on threshold, and crosstalk settings for each individual bar. You can also use the reset button to clear out these settings. You can select an individual bar by playing it with a mallet. Each bar remembers its individual gain, on threshold, and crosstalk settings. As you play each bar, note that the display will update to indicate which bar and which octave you've played. Now let's look at the preset menu. To get to the preset menu, press the Home button, then press the Preset tab button to get to the second page. Then press the Select button, and that loads the preset menu. From the Preset tab, you can use the up and down arrows to select different presets. To load a preset, press the Select button. If there are any unsaved changes from the preset that you are working on, you can either save or discard them. The new preset will load, and any new sound card instruments will load as well. You can save or reset a preset using the buttons on the right. Select the Edit button to edit a preset. You'll notice that the currently selected preset has arrows on the left and right-hand side of the preset name. The EMC controller can save up to 16 presets, and you can reset all of the presets to their factory state from the configuration menu. Select the Edit button on the right to load the Preset Edit menu. This lets you edit the active preset. The first page of the Main tab allows you to edit the preset name, enable dampening, change the note duration, enable aftertouch, and gap caps. To edit the preset name, press Select, and use the right and left arrows to navigate between the letters. You can use the up and down arrows to change a letter. You can also use the horizontal slider. And if you press and hold the left arrow, you can delete letters. And if you press and hold the right arrow, you can insert spaces. The second page of the main tab allows you to select the sound card instruments that are loaded when you load the active preset. The third page of the main tab allows you to adjust the program change settings that are sent to a computer over the USB-C port. You can adjust the program change number, the MIDI channel, and whether those settings should be sent when the active preset is loaded. The fourth page of the main tab allows you to adjust those same settings for the MIDI 5-pin DIN output. This allows you to select different presets and instruments for attached legacy MIDI hardware. Pressing the Zones tab loads the Zone Edit menu. So what are zones? Zones are divisions of your bars, your keyboard, into different zones that can control different devices. The most classic use for this might be if you have a bass loaded on one of the sound card layers and you want that to be controlled by the lowest octave of the controller. In this example, I'm going to use a bass for the lowest octave and a grand piano for the upper 2 octaves. To configure that, I'm going to go to Zone B, I'm going to enable it, I'm going to play the start bar, which is the lowest bar, already set at 0. And then I'm going to select the end bar, in this case 13. I'm going to leave the channel alone, but I will transpose it down 1 octave. And then on the second page, you can choose the destinations for this zone. It could be the computer with USB-C MIDI. It could be the 5-pin DIN. For now, we're going to set this to control sound card layer 2. Now I go back to Zone A, and I select my start bar, which begins at the 2nd octave, bar 14. And the end bar is already set to 42, but I'll hit it just in case. I'll leave it on channel 1. I won't transpose the octave. And for destinations, I'm just going to enable sound card layer 1. So as you can see, we have 2 separate zones, each controlling a different sound card layer. This is called a split, and allows you to have bass lines in the left hand and leads in the right. Up to 3 zones can be defined, and each zone can control its own destinations with its own MIDI channel settings and its own curve. The EM Pro has 3 pedal inputs: sustain, switch, and expression. The first page of the pedals menu configures the sustain pedal. The default setting is sustain, which controls the internal sustain that allows you to use bar dampening. If you select CC, you can use MIDI control changes to send messages to attached hardware, virtual instruments, and even the sound card layers. And you can reverse the polarity of your sustain pedal. The second page of the pedals menu allows you to adjust the same settings for the switch pedal. You can set it to sustain, CC, and there's a third advance option that allows you to use the switch pedal to advance through entries in your set list. The third page of the pedals menu configures the expression pedal. You can select different control change numbers, MIDI channels, and you can adjust a separate curve just for the expression pedal. Press the MIDI tab button to load the soft controls menu. Soft controls are virtual MIDI controls that you can use to adjust parameters on attached hardware, virtual instruments, and the sound card. These are the same controls that you saw on the MIDI tab, second and third page from the home screen. There are 4 sliders and 4 buttons. For example, you might want to adjust the filter cutoff for a patch, like a grand piano. Let's go to the first page of the sliders tab, and we can rename the parameter. The sound card's filter cutoff is mapped to control change 31. We're going to set it to channel 1, although for the sound card that doesn't matter. And then our destinations will enable just layer 1. Now from the home screen, on the MIDI tab, second page, we have a parameter setup called filter. Check out our EMSC Quick Start Guide for a list of all the parameters that you can adjust with MIDI CCs. The Sliders tab has multiple pages for you to configure all 4 of the soft sliders. The Buttons tab allows you to configure the 4 soft buttons. Buttons can be renamed. You can select between push and toggle. And you can send CC, note, or program changes, selecting which note, CC, or program, and which channel to send on. The Buttons tab has multiple pages to configure the 4 different soft buttons. The Faders tab allows you to adjust the MIDI messages that are sent from the 2 vertical faders on the control surface. In the default configuration, these settings are adjusted automatically based on which instrument you have selected at the home screen. You can also customize which control change is sent, what channel it's sent on, or you can even send pitch bend for one or both faders. The second page of the Faders tab lets you select which destinations the MIDI messages are sent to. You can send them to a computer over USB-C, 5-pin DIN MIDI, or one or both of the sound card layers. The third page of the Faders tab lets you select the color of the fader. You can choose from a list of colors, or you can customize with your own specific color. Pages 1, 2, and 3 control the left vertical fader. Pages 4, 5, and 6 control the right. Press the back button to return to the controls menu. The Gap Caps tab allows you to configure the MIDI messages sent by the gap caps. So what are gap caps? Gap caps are these little silicon caps that cover the unused keys depending on the root note of your lowest bar. We can also use these bars to trigger specific MIDI messages to control external hardware, to trigger an effects loop, or to play back a sample. To use gap caps, make sure that they're enabled in the preset edit menu. To select a gap cap, play it with a mallet. You'll notice that the screen updates anytime that you strike a gap cap, indicating which one you hit. From there, you can select if you want to send a note or a control change, or if you want to disable that specific gap cap. You can configure which note or control change number and the MIDI channel it sends on. And you can configure a dedicated curve just for that gap cap. So we've talked about presets. The EMC controller can save up to 16 of them, and each of those presets recalls a pair of instruments from the sound card. But what if you want more than that? That's where Setlists come in. To get to the Setlist tab, press the Home button, press the Preset tab, and press Select. Then press the Setlist tab. As you can see, we have 2 entries, and each entry has the same EMC preset, which is dampening FF gap cap. But for the first entry, we've selected the emotional grand piano with the voltage bass. And for the second entry, we've selected marimba with a hard mallet and the Elysium harp. To select a setlist entry, press Select. That will load the preset for the EMC, which sets up the dampening with the low F and gap caps are enabled, and it will load the emotional grand piano on layer 1 of the sound card and voltage bass on the second layer of the sound card. To edit an entry, use the right or left arrows and select Edit. From here, in the Preset tab, you can select which EMC preset will be loaded, and from the Sounds tab, you can select which instruments to load for each layer. You'll notice that there are 2 asterisks displayed at the top of the screen, indicating that there are unsaved changes to the set list. Press the Setlist tab again to get to the second page, where you can save the preset, delete it, or create a new one. To select different set lists, use the drop-down. The EMC can store up to 10 set lists, each with 25 entries. Use the Add button to create a new entry. That entry will use the currently loaded EMC preset and the 2 loaded sound card instruments. You can use the Move button to rearrange the order of entries in your set list, and you can delete entries as needed. You can also enable Setlist Advanced mode from the third Setlist tab page. This is the same parameter that you would edit from the MIDI Controls Pedals tab. Setlists can be used for different applications. You might have a setlist that has your favorite sound card instruments loaded in it. You might have a setlist for a specific gig. For example, let's say that you're in musical theater and you want to queue up 4 instruments. Here I have a set list with 4 entries, each using the dampening FF EMC preset. For the first sound card layer, I've loaded a marimba, a piano, violin, and acoustic guitar. Marimba. Then I can queue up the next setlist entry, and that will load the piano. I can load up the next entry. That will load up the violin. I can load the next entry. And there's our acoustic guitar. Your EM Pro is a real instrument, and like any instrument, you want to calibrate it to match your playing style. To do that, we recommend you bar regulate. Before bar regulating, we recommend that you use custom settings. Set the on threshold all the way to 25, crosstalk rejection all the way to 8, and retrigger window all the way to 30. Then go to the third page and select bar regulation. Press OK. To regulate your EM Pro, we recommend you play 5 consecutive chromatic scales from the lowest to highest bar. You should use hard strikes that are typical of your usual hard strike, forte but not fortissimo, like this. Make sure to also hit the gap caps as you play up the bars. Now 3. Four. And 5. Don't worry about playing fast. You want to play consistent, and you want the notes to be even. Again, forte, not fortissimo, so not the hardest strike you would ever play, but the upper end of your usual dynamic range. When you're finished bar regulating, you can return back to the default or low, high, or custom settings you're used to. If you want to tune an individual bar, a good approach is to start with some soft strikes and then adjust the on threshold all the way to maximum. so that the strikes don't trigger anymore. Now bring the on threshold down slowly until it activates. You want to find the threshold of the setting that activates with the amount of pressure that you would normally strike with. Then go to the maximum gain setting and turn it all the way down. And with some hard strikes, try to hit the maximum 127 velocity. Right now I'm hitting about 90, so I'm going to slowly bring that up. Until I'm able to hit 127. By getting the extremes of the on threshold and the gain, you'll get the most dynamic range out of your bars for your playing. We hope this video has been helpful for you to get started with your malletSTATION EM Pro. Check out our video description for links to our Quick Start Guide, our user forum, and our support website. Thank you very much.